Facebook and YouTube live with me, Tjitske de Vries. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone who is going to watch this afterwards. We have a very interesting subject today. We were going to talk about a different subject before, but we realized there's a big ask for talking about online privacy and data protection. So we just wanted to do a 20-minute privacy 101 chat, and who better to do that with than David. Like, David is here. David has been on here a few times, and he is our privacy advocate, and he knows everything about privacy. So who better to be here than David? Welcome, David. Thanks again for signing up to this and making time and room for us, for us
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I think in the grand scheme of like who better to talk to, probably a million people. There's probably a million, there's probably so many more expert, like advanced, studious, academic, in the weeds kind of technical folks as well. But it's an honor to be, 1,000,001. I'm very happy.
For me, you're number one,
There
David.
we go.
For
There we
me,
go.
you're number one. That's the
There we go.
most
That's great.
important thing.
Love it.
So yeah, like as I put in our in the event description, and I think this is such a great quote from David. It's modern online privacy is about so much more than settings. It's about agency, and I would really love to start with that. What we kind of want to start with is, what is data privacy, however you want to pronounce it,
Yeah.
in whatever
Yeah.
country you are. Privacy. What is it, and what is the difference between data privacy and data protection? Because they're being used interchangeably, but what is the difference between the two?
Yeah. So the best way I can answer that question is that one of them's really exciting and the other one's extremely boring. And I hate to throw, like shade on what I'm calling data protection because
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about that after, this first bit. But data
Yeah.
protection is something I see as a very legal process, a
Mm-hmm.
company regulation process. It's how companies protect what you give them, right? It's laws that say this has to be protected in this way. There have to be this many controls in place. There has
Mm-hmm.
to be, a data protection authority, like an agent at, if you're living in the EU, a company has to have someone who responds to emails. Like that's like when we're talking about one of these topics is someone responds to emails. And when we're talking about this other topic, which is, again, I think much closer to this idea of agency,
Yeah.
this one to me is always going to be more exciting. And so
Mm-hmm.
data privacy is this huge term, right? And it's annoying and it's like amorphous and it can kind of slip in and out. And like you said, I don't want folks to ever think that data privacy is a list of settings that they, like they
Mm-hmm.
go into their iPhone and they're like, I've changed these 14 settings because this blog told me, and now I am private.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately does not work that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Data privacy is, again, it's about agency. It's about having control of the decisions you make away from influence. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I think is very important, right? Data privacy is something as simple as like protecting your photos, right? Data privacy is deciding who sees your Instagram reels, right? Data privacy
Mm-hmm.
is deciding whether or not you share your location with your romantic partner, right? That's data privacy. Data privacy is privacy, but just translated for the online world. And so there's a lot of interpersonal decisions, I think, that are going on
Yeah.
with, again, data privacy. So again, do I, like, it really is kind of stuff like this. Do I say certain things in text messages? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid those text messages might be monitored. And, that could be by the government. That could be if you are a kid, if you're a
Mm-hmm.
teen and your parents track you through a certain type of app and you're worried that that app has access to your text messages. That's a form of privacy of saying, I'm not going to say this in a text message.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is, hey, I look at certain websites and I don't want my internet service provider, right? So the companies that provide internet, there's Comcast, there's Sonic here in San Francisco. There's a ton out there. There's AT&T, all of these companies. I don't want them knowing the websites I visit. And so I'm going to use something called a VPN, and it's going to obscure what I'm looking at. AT&T won't know it is me looking at these
Mm-hmm.
websites. And I think a lot of folks instinctively think, Oh, does that mean because someone's looking at porn? They're looking at adult websites. I think there's two things there. One, so what? Like, so, like if
Yeah,
they are, yeah, sure. Like if
yeah.
that's what they want to be private about, that's cool. That's totally fine.
Hmm.
Two, we should again, I always think about like students in particular, kids. When you go to a university, you might want to look up stuff that the university doesn't agree with, that the university
Yeah.
has made stances against, and you're afraid of that. You're afraid that, there might be a clamping down, not just on what you say in public, but also on what you're looking up, what you're researching. And so you can
Hmm.
want the university to not have access to what you're interested in. So all of these things are actually data privacy. Like they sound like they're all sorts of corners of online life, and that's because they are. Like again, I think the best way for folks to understand what is data privacy, again, it is privacy, but
Yeah.
just what you do online. And sometimes,
Hmm.
as we know, there's a merging of those two things. The ways to practice data privacy are endless. They are limitless, and we will get into those things. But again,
Yeah.
because there's so many different things, sometimes in the way that being private in real life is sometimes simply not engaging in something, that's actually
Hmm.
the way it is true as well in data privacy. It's deciding not to do something. It's deciding not to share something. It's deciding not to use your real name for certain things. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what it is. Like the way that privacy is like, putting your blinds down. It's also like living behind a wall of hedges. Like these that's actually what privacy is. Privacy is choosing and being able to choose what people know about you. So that's, really top level stuff.
I do find it very interesting because, like, why I'm saying that you're the expert on this is that you've talked a lot about privacy in lock and code, for
Yep.
instance.
Yep.
And one of the things that you've been talking about is, for instance, all those apps, the coffee apps, the
Mhm.
McDonald's apps. Sorry,
Yeah.
not Burger
Yeah.
King, Wendy's,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the
All of them.
apps. And you talked as well, like, I mean, is it worth it? Is the 50 cents off a burger
Yeah.
worth giving away basically all your information? Do you do something like this yourself? Do you use these apps, or do you have any advice on how would you use these apps? Is it the same as like putting in an incorrect date of birth, or something? Like how would you use something like this?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good point. So you're right. We have spoken about apps in the past quite a bit. And for folks who don't know, right, I understand there's tons of apps for fast food, for casual fast food, for restaurant stuff. McDonald's, Burger King, Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box, all these sorts of
Hmm.
things, Starbucks, any kind of app. And you download them because they offer you dollars off, right? They offer
Yeah.
you deals. And a lot of times they will even say, hey, we noticed that you are in this city. We noticed that you're close to a McDonald's. We noticed that you're close to a
Hmm.
Starbucks. Here's $2 off your next meal. Here's $5 off, here's free fries, and I personally, right? I don't use these.
Hmm.
I understand the appeal. Like, of course, I understand the appeal. Money off of something that you're going to buy feels pretty
Yeah.
great. That feels pretty awesome. I don't use these apps because I don't like the actual bargain that I'm entering with these
Hmm.
companies. I am uncomfortable with McDonald's knowing my location. I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's okay that Burger King or Carl's Jr. or Starbucks or any of these companies know my location. I am extraordinarily private about my real-time GPS location. And the fact that
Yeah.
a sandwich company knows where I live, I completely do not allow that. Like
Not happy with that. No.
I
Hmm.
don't want that. Now, I know that these companies probably know where I live because of a host of other ways that our
Yeah.
privacy is invaded online. The simple use of the browser can sometimes reveal
Hmm.
where you are online. Other apps, completely benign apps, are also very hungry for information. And even if you are turning off your GPS services, there are many, many countless apps that will still use your IP address. So, you open the app and it says, hey, this person's connected to the internet, and their IP address has this rough estimation of location. We kind
Yeah.
of have a rough idea. So my IP address does kind of pretty much reveal that I'm in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So the companies know that that data is requested from my phone. It's delivered out into this large market space where companies are buying that data and saying, okay, we know that David is in San Francisco. They don't know my name necessarily, but they know I am a person in
No.
San Francisco and they know I engage in these activities. They know, okay, he opened this website, he looked at this article. All of these apps and companies are doing this piecemeal until they've collected enough information to create a little profile. And they target me with ads. Now, again, this is a really, I think, esoteric kind of shadowy thing. I think it's extremely hard to describe. I loathe, anytime that we have to get into the details of it because it's opaque on purpose, right? These companies don't want us
Yeah.
to know about this stuff. But I also understand that that's not the general tenor, I think, of most folks. I think most folks are like, yes, I know that happens and there's not a lot I can do about it, so I just don't do a lot
Mm-hmm.
about it. And that's, again, also very understandable. I think fighting against this surveillance economy is
Yeah.
very difficult. So for me to come out and say like, I just don't use these apps, I understand that's not a strong recommendation for most people, right? I also understand like it's just me and my wife. We don't have kids. I understand if we had kids, I think it would be a completely different world where
Mm-hmm.
our kids like, well, we want McDonald's. And there's only so much you can do before you're like, well, if I'm gonna buy McDonald's, it better be cheap. I understand that. I get those things. So I would always, always just recommend people to look at like what they have on their phone. And if they don't need it, get
Mm-hmm.
rid of it, right? A little app audit. I think of it in the same way that like it became pretty popular a couple of years ago to like look at your streaming services and just say like which one can I get rid of, right? Like can I get rid of any of
Yeah.
these? Consider doing the same thing with your phone. It's not sexy work, it's not exciting work.
It's a
But
lot of work. Yeah.
it's a lot of work,
Mm.
but it's nice to start taking those actions. It's nice to start removing some of these things from your life if you don't really need them, because again, I think that the bargain is untenable for me. I will not
Yeah.
agree to that bargain. I will not agree to countless companies knowing my routine, knowing because it's not
Mm-hmm.
just my location, right? It's not just, hey, I live at this approximate address. It's that you know, I go here or there every day for work. It's that I take this freeway. It's that I stop at this place on the way home sometimes. It's that
Mm-hmm.
I take classes here. Like your location is your life. It reveals
Yeah.
so much about you. And so it's not just I live here, it's I live here and this is my routine and this is where I go every day and these are the stores I frequent and these are the interests I have because those are the stores I frequent. That is too much information for me to give again to a sandwich company. So I will
Yeah.
not use them. That's how I approach it.
I think it's a very interesting way to look at it as well. Because it's the sandwich companies, those types of companies, but it's also like what I always think about as well is kind of like the digital wealth divide.
Yeah,
So what you're
yeah,
talking about, like if we have three kids and they want to go to McDonald's, there should be an option, like the old school coupons, right? They still use
yeah,
them here in Germany. You cut out your coupon and you give it to
yeah,
the cashier, and that's it, right?
yeah,
There's no need for all this data to be put
yeah.
in. And then there's a lot of, when we're talking about the digital wealth gap, is like there's a lot of people who do not have access to certain, like Adobe Acrobat, like
Mhm.
the big
Yeah.
companies, the big apps. So a lot of people use open source
Hmm. Hmm.
software, which is great that it's there, but like for that you kind of pay with your data, because in a lot of
Yes.
these you don't really know what's in there, or is there a certain tracker in there. So to me it's always like, yeah, like you say, like we do want to advise people not to use these things, but in a lot of cases like there's no other way. So
Yeah.
for us the most important part is how to use these apps, how to use these things in a very safe way. And another thing as well, what I really liked, because I have this on my little paper as well, is that yeah, a lot of people think like, oh yeah, my data's out there anyway. What can I do about it?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
indeed, that is yeah, I mean, there's a lot of data in here, but there's also ways of, getting rid of certain data that you put in before, and you can start with like, you can start fresh and go like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going to think about where do I put my data in? What type of data does a
Mhm.
company need? What
Yeah.
type of data does a company need?
Yeah.
A company, for me to use a certain software, a company should not need my date of birth if it's
Yeah.
not something that is shady or anything. So I think that's an interesting one. And we're also talking about, you were talking about for a lot of apps, you don't even know what they're tracking. And
Yeah.
like you get 14 pages of terms and conditions. And
Yeah.
indeed, somewhere in between, there's this part about, how your data is being used. And we just
Yeah.
don't know. Sorry, that's a little bit of a side note. Like, well, let's start there. What can people do right now? Like a
Yeah.
few steps that they can do right now to go, okay, I kind of determined I want to do something about this. I want to be a little bit more private with my data. What can I do about future data being shared and previous data
Yeah.
being shared?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two simple ones that I always tell folks to do because believe it or not, where a lot of this data is coming from is from your browser and your search engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So change both of those. Like it really is that simple. We talk about like, okay, there are all of these apps, some of them we don't even know about. They're requesting information from your phone and they're delivering it again to this marketplace where everyone's buying up your data.
Yeah.
We talk about, again, these specific apps that we do know about. McDonald's, again, we're
Mm-hmm.
really like wagging
Sorry.
against McDonald's right now. I am sorry, McDonald's. Don't do the things you do. And then we're also talking about stuff like, don't share your photos. Don't share photos of your kids if
Mm-hmm.
you're uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. That, again, these are hard to group together because sometimes they require such individual actions. So what I think is
Mm-hmm.
important is to actually do something that's very cuts across the entire like ecosystem of data. And again, that is that changing your browser because most people, like Google Chrome is by far the most popular browser.
Yeah.
It has a market share of anywhere between like 66% and more. If you do the rough math on what that is, like I believe I believe there's about 4 billion people connected to the internet, right?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there's 4 billion people using browsers, because you can
Mm-hmm.
connect to the internet without a browser. But even if you took the rough math, like let's say Google Chrome has a billion users, that's an insane number. Like that's
Yeah.
really undercutting it. So Google Chrome really wants to know what you're doing. Like that's it. It really, really, really loves knowing what you're doing, and it
Mm-hmm.
loves knowing that in tandem with Google search. Your searches are really, really valuable to
Mm-hmm.
companies that want to sell to you based on your searches. The fact that I'm searching things like I I think a lot of folks have this understanding that's like I looked for shoes, right? And therefore I got ads for shoes. That's the most basic,
Yeah.
banal, like that is not what we're talking about. There is a world of difference between this extremely context-based advertising and what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Things like companies know not just whether or not you're pregnant, they know how pregnant you are. They know how many weeks pregnant you are,
Yeah.
even if you've never necessarily looked up those things and put them in a box, in a text box, in a search box.
Mm.
Companies know there's a good chance, there's a really, really, really strong chance that there's a company that knows that the other person in this household is my wife. They may not know her name, but they know that there are two IDs that connect to the same internet every day.
Yeah.
And this does happen. This is real. If my wife looks something up, companies can decide to give me ads based on what she looks at. It is a real thing that happens. We have spoken to folks on the podcast who said, "Hey, my wife was looking up vacation trips, and I started getting ads for areas in that vacation. Things to do in that area." I mean, this is like it's so abstracted, I think, from what we think is normal data privacy invasion. It really is a pattern of life is being made about you in a way that you don't know. There are companies that have made determinations about most of us, about whether or not we are heavy drinkers, about whether or not we're
Mm-hmm.
smokers, about whether or not we're overweight. There are other companies that make determinations based on how likely or unlikely it is that I'm serious here, that we shop at mattress stores, that we travel domestically or internationally, that we are frequenting a gym. They estimate how many dollars we spend, like to the dollar, on things again, like travel or gifts or anniversaries. It is the most complete accounting of your life, I think, that you could ever find on paper. And it is all to make money off of you. Now,
Yeah.
I don't like that, again, that bargain. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that things about me that I've never expressed and I've never necessarily found important, things like that are used to trade against me. You know, every time I make a purchase from one of those calculations, I honestly consider it a loss. I honestly think like I
Mm-hmm.
lost a little fight against this machine. This machine
Yeah.
wants my money. It wants nothing more than my money. And I hate that. Like I just kind of hate that. So a way to cut across all of that is to change the browser, change the
Mm-hmm.
search engine. The browser and search engine are giving so much information to this economy. I don't use Google Chrome. I use Brave. I've used Firefox. I think they're both really strong. I don't use Google anymore. I used
Mm-hmm.
Startpage for a little bit. It was fine. I now use Brave Search. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's cool. There's now I have I think a high friction point. I'm okay with bad results. I don't know. I don't have a good way to say that. I don't have a good way to like make it easy for people, but I do want to also say that I think a lot of people are frustrated with Google search results these days.
Yeah.
Like it's not it's extremely common that people now understand if they want like a human answer, they will type their search and then the word Reddit because they want to see
Mm-hmm.
a person has gone through this problem before, and they talk about it on the human forum that is Reddit. That is because that is a response. That is a response to us getting bad information. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think this idea of like, I could never leave Google behind, I think that's not so true anymore. I think a lot of people are getting very bad results, or they're getting very advertised results that aren't actually what they
Yeah.
want. This is a thing that we see pretty frequently.
Mm-hmm.
If you search up like a company that makes a product, like if you search Nike, you may get an ad for Reebok or Asics before Nike. That's bad. That's a bad result. I don't know what to tell you folks. Like
Yeah.
that's not how search should work. And so again, you can switch it up. You can use something like Brave Search. You can use DuckDuckGo, absolutely, of course. You can use Start Page. There's a couple other things. I get that it's hard. I understand that it's an uphill battle, but
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that makes it easy is, if you're using a browser and you choose the default search engine, you never really have to think about it. Like
Yeah.
I know I never went to google.com, like I didn't do that. I just typed in something in the search bar in like the URL address bar,
Mm-hmm.
the magic bar, and it gave me results. So these are changes that you can make once
Yeah.
and they kind of continue on forwards. And from that point on, your searches are not tracked. Like your searches are not used for
Mm-hmm.
advertising. They're not fed to a company. Change the browser, change the search engine. I do it. I've done it. It's fine. It's fine. Like again, I can't tell you like, wow, my life is so amazing now. Like everything works so easily. Like the web is what I want it to be. There's so many more problems with the web. This isn't going to change. Like this isn't going
No.
to change your user experience dramatically, but it is going to give you some sense of ownership of who
Yeah.
you are online, and you won't get an ad for what your romantic partner is doing. Like, I don't know how we're okay with this. This is so bizarre. Like imagine, I don't know. Just imagine you're in a mall and someone walks up to you and says, "We saw your spouse at this store across the street. Do you want something as well?" And I was like, "Well, why are you watching my spouse? And why are you watching me?
Mm-hmm.
And why do you know that we're married? What the hell is wrong with you?" Like, these are not okay things to know about strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I deeply, deeply disapprove of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got my husband is a big gamer, and
Mhm.
I think The Witcher 3, 4,
Yeah,
5, 6,
yeah,
whatever came out.
all of them.
I can't remember which one. Sorry, everyone. Um, and I got indeed got ads for it, and I'm like, look at this. I'm getting ads for this. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, what you're saying, yeah, like any change of habit is really annoying at start.
Yes.
Like if you suddenly have to take the bus instead of the car, it's a very annoying habit, but you
Yeah.
get used to it.
Hmm.
And I think if, like you said, if you do get a little bit of ownership of your data and what is happening with it, that's worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Give it 26 days, isn't it? 26 days or something, and then, you're going to be fine. I think that's a great advice. And it is something that there's lots of other things that we do, but I think this is a really easy way to start. And I think what we do as a company is like we have different ways of helping out in the background as well. Again, one of my favorite, browser guard, like
Yeah.
put it on your
Yeah.
browser, and you don't have to think about it as much, and you get messages like if there has been a data breach or a data leak or anything, you
Hmm.
get a message going, okay,
Yeah.
have a look at this, have a look if something has happened. What other things does like Malwarebytes do to help you protect your privacy? Because it's kind of like it's teamwork, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we also have, all of this data that's out there, like sometimes it's also being used just to list you on a website, right? It really is that simple. Your name, your address, like your age, your family relatives, sometimes they just get put on
Mm-hmm.
things called people search sites. And so you look up your name, you can your phone number's probably online. Like, right, that's
Mm-hmm.
just a thing. And we do have something at Malwarebytes, personal data remover. It helps remove those things online, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
looking at some of those biographical details. It's just getting rid of them. And I'm comforted by that. I enjoy that. I think it's pretty cool. It also does some work to remove your data from data brokers. I was talking about this kind of shadow economy of data. That's what a data broker is. At the end of the day, it's someone
Mm-hmm.
who pulls data from disparate sources, combines them, and then sells it back elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Personal data remover helps get rid of some of those things, right? Makes the request to the companies and says, hey, this person doesn't want to be in this database anymore. And we do have laws that allow for that, which I think
Yeah.
really help make this system effective. But yeah, back to Browser Guard. It's just really good. I feel like, I've been here for several years. I have tried very, very desperately to not be someone who advertises like Malwarebytes at every turn. I try not to be
Yeah, I
like,
do say.
guys, the solution is buy Malwarebytes. Like, no, that's
Mm.
not a reasonable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, like, if I'm gonna be a spokesperson, I need a budget. I need a beauty budget. I need to be made beautiful. I need like, if I'm gonna be on camera for this stuff, come on, like. They pump out the money for Marvel heroes. Like, let's get it going. But Malwarebytes browser guard like always proves me wrong in the sense like
Yeah.
nope, I think it's free. It
Yeah.
tells you when a website is malware. It tells you when that website has
Mm-hmm.
had a data breach and given up your data.
Mm-hmm.
It warns you about like scams. I think it's a stellar product and it blocks ad tracking. Like it's there for free. Just it's I use it. I use it every single day. It's
Yeah.
on my browser. Like that's it. And it tells me about things I don't know about, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I think that's honestly a really really solid use.
And it makes you feel empowered, because you
Yeah,
can, like, one of the things that I like to do I like to see the tracker number go up
yeah,
significantly.
yeah,
X has a
yeah,
lot of trackers,
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
trackers that are blocked being. I think we could talk like another 2 hours about data privacy, and we probably will revisit a few other things in the future,
Yeah.
because I think we do have a responsibility here to advise people on how, how they can take. I like when you said like when that they can take ownership of
Yeah.
data, at least, from what they can do from the comfort of their home. I think
Mhm.
there's definitely something. And what I'd like to ask people, like, if you have any questions, or if you have anything that you do that you think is going to be very valuable for other people to know, just drop them in the comments, and like, share the knowledge. I think that's, we're a community. What you were saying about Reddit, indeed,
Mhm.
we're a
Yeah.
community. Something has happened, this person has done something like this, and shares the information with other people. I think that's so powerful, especially when it comes to data privacy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep same with data and data. Being a European, like I'm
Yeah.
stuck between two
Great.
worlds
The
of
two worlds. Yeah.
pronunciation. um, yeah, so we'll share a few more things in the future, I think. And one of the things like is don't get too bummed out. With I understand it's very like these types of things are quite they're quite massive. You know, a lot of our data is online, but there's still things that you can do, things that David shared before. There's still things that we can do
Yeah.
to take back that ownership. And thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your expertise.
Yeah.
As always, very appreciated because, and sharing it in a way that everyone can understand. I think that's the most important thing because we do read a lot about data privacy and data protection and a lot of jargon,
Yeah.
but in a lot of cases, I don't even always know what it
Yeah.
means. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. We'll be here again in a few weeks with something else, but stay tuned on our channel, different channels. And if you have a subject that you would like us to talk about, please pop it in the comments or send us a
Yeah.
message, and we'd be happy to tackle it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much, David, for also being here with me. And see you next time. And have a great day, everyone.
See you next time, folks.
Bye bye. See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.